Hey friends, I'm Scott Hanselman. Thank you so much for having me at this .NET Conf 24 recap. I wish I could be there in person, and I wish I could be there live, but I'm probably asleep right now. But I want to thank you all for letting me open the day. There's going to be a lot of great talks. We've got seamless migration, moving from .NET Framework to .NET Core that Chandrakant is going to present. You've got harnessing .NET. You've got optimizing HTTP connections, and you've got dependency injection. And then Augustine, of course, will go and talk about all the different announcements from .NET Conf 2024. Now, again, after this talk is a full technical talk on migrating from .NET Framework to .NET Core, or what we now call .NET 6, 7, 8, 9. So I don't want to take away from their shine, but I do want to talk about how much fun I've had updating my own stuff. And then in a few minutes, you'll be able to get into a real deep dive. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And we'll go ahead and put me, how about down here in the corner? You know, if you're not familiar, get familiar with the .NET Upgrade Assistant. The .NET Upgrade Assistant, you can just go out there and search for it. Runs inside of Visual Studio or runs at the command line, and it makes upgrading your .NET Framework and your .NET Core applications just so much easier. This is really important because I'm somebody who's been running .NET software since 2002. I mean, my blog and my website, like for example, Hanselman.com, was running on ASP.NET 2, right? ASP.NET 2 in 2004. It started out in ASP.NET 1.1 in 2002. So this is now the 23rd year that my blog has been running. So here's the thing. Is it a modern blog, right? If we go to Hanselman.com, you might see stuff that you've already seen before. You may be familiar with the site. You've got the main page, you've got the blog, and then of course you've got my podcast. And each of these three individual sites kind of make up my online presence. And as I said, for the longest time, these were running web forms. So here's the question. Do I just let them work? They work just fine, right? Why not just leave them on web forms? Why not just leave my applications on .NET Framework? They work fine. Well, the reason is many reasons. This was running on a Windows virtual machine, running Windows Server 2000. It was not getting security updates. I had the weight and the heaviness of a virtual machine to go and deal with. I was not getting security updates. The web is changing, and while .NET 4.8 is supported, while .NET Framework 4.8 and web forms is fully supported and continues to get updates and security updates, there's so many reasons to think about moving to modern .NET. That's why they don't just call it upgrading, they call it modernizing, and why I'm looking forward to the next talk. So I decided over the Christmas holiday I was going to upgrade everything. I'm currently upgraded to .NET 8, and I'm hoping to go to 9 as well. I also upgraded AzureFriday.com as well. And one of the things you can do on any of my sites, you just scroll all the way to the bottom, and you can see that I actually put right there the version of .NET that I'm running on, and I've extended that to my podcast. We go all the way to the bottom. Not only do I show you the version of .NET that it's running on, but for myself, I show the git commit, and I show the log from the CI/CD, the continuous integration, continuous deployment server. So this allows me to go and open those up and go directly to, look at that, directly to the commit that's running right now in production. This is a nice little trick, and I've got details on how to do this on my blog. And then if I go and open up that bottom link, it's going to take me directly to the logs of the last build, which was right here. So I can see those logs, see the warnings that ran. Now, I'm showing that because my site is not particularly important, but if you're doing this in production, you might want to hide this around a if-is administrator, and then maybe only show this information to logged-in users, because you might not want to show the public that. And I did the same thing to the blog as well, so I can see exactly when I upgraded it, and you can see I've got my recent commit right here. This recent commit to my blog, which just happened over the holidays. There you go, 2 weeks ago. I went and I made some changes to go and get this working, and I am running on Linux now, okay? So I'm running all of this stuff on Linux because it saves me money. I wanted to make sure that my site was going to be running in the cheapest way, because I'm not getting free Azure time, all right? I've got my MSDN credit, but I only have $8 of MSDN credit remaining, so I was going to make sure this was going to run as efficiently as possible. So you can see here that the blog and the podcast and the main site are all running on Linux, which is a little cheaper than Windows. And then if I click on those, I thought this was pretty cool. You can go and see this resource group that I'm running them in, Hanselman.com Linux. I'm going to go and click on that, but before I do that, I'll show you the app service. This is the app service that I'm running my site in. Check it out. The CPU percentage on my site here is just never above 20%, right? You've got that sawtooth pattern as people continue to hit the site. The site is being hit right now, but I want to call this out. You see that memory percentage is right at 80%? I like to run my sites hot. I like to get them working. So I've squished inside of one app service as many sites as possible. So if we look here at the apps that are running on my app service plan, we have 4 apps. These are very popular sites. I'm getting, nearly 1 million views a month here, and I'm running Hanselman.com, the front end. I'm running the blog, I'm running the podcast, and Azure Friday, all packed in to that one app service plan. So when we see this memory, that memory at the beginning there, what we're seeing is these are working hard. Okay, let's go back to that app service plan there. And I've cached virtually everything because memory in the cloud is cheap. CPU and storage might cost a little bit, but they give you the memory, you might as well use it, right? There's no reason for me to succumb to memory pressure and have this try to be down here and lower. So I'm really, really conscious of using those features that Azure's made available to me. So I went and I upgraded to a premium here, and look at this. This was a standard I was using before. Now I'm using a premium. It's actually $7 less. So premium is cheaper than basic. I'm down to $40 a month, and I'm running all of Hanselman International, the blog, the podcast. It's all running on one premium for, in this case, $40, which for me is very affordable given how much those things do. A lot of people think, well, one website on one app service plan. No, you want to pack those things tight, pack those things densely. So I've gone and done that as much as I possibly can. That has been really, really interesting to spend that time on Linux. If I switch out to the command line here, I'm going to go ahead and clear this out. I want to make sure that Docker is running, and I'm going to show you something else. So here is the Hanselman website. This is I'm running in Windows here, and we'll go and do a quick build. Make sure that everything builds. There you go, built on .NET 8 in this case in just a few seconds. But then I can also switch over to Linux. So here we are on Linux, on WSL. Let's go into a similar folder. We're going to be in Hanselman Core. I'm going to go and pull to update that. There we go, just updated that to the latest. Let's go and do a .NET build on Linux. Boom, there you go. And now we've built the Linux version of this on .NET. I'll switch back over here, and let's see if we switch over to the Windows machine. Let's go and say Docker build. Just by moving over to .NET Core, modern .NET. .NET Core is .NET 5, .NET 6, .NET 7, 8, and 9. We get a new one each year. I've given myself choice. I went from running 20-year-old .NET software on Windows only in a virtual machine from 2002, and through modernization, moving that over to something like Razor Pages, moving it over to something like Blazor, all the runtime stuff compiled. That modernization tool, that upgrade assistant, allowed me to go and remove any Windows dependencies. Now I have choice. I can still run it on Windows. I can run it on IIS. I can run it on Linux. And now I can run it inside of Docker. So now I've just built the podcast in Docker. So then if we switch back over to here, we go to our Hanselman Linux resource group and look at those different apps, right? All those apps running in that same pricing plan. We switch out here and we can see that this is all running on Linux. And I can go under configuration here in Azure, and we're going to see all those .NETs right there. I'm on the long-term support version, the LTS support version. If I want to switch it over and try it on .NET 9, we're there, we're ready. We were there for the .NET 9 launch, so I can go and run all of my latest stuff, and I don't feel like afraid of it anymore. I've actually gone and put in tests for all of this stuff. So I can go and run unit tests across this. I was afraid of my blog for the longest time. I didn't want to touch it. I thought I would break it. I thought that it worked fine. It was on Windows. It was in a virtual machine. It was in this big 30 gig virtual machine, but I would just leave it alone and it'll probably be okay. But then I started realizing that I was afraid of it. I was afraid of the site because I didn't want to change it. When I started moving to modern.net, I started adding tests. You can see here I've got test coverage. You can see my test coverage. I'm using Playwright to actually go and click around and run Playwright tests. I'm getting security warnings. And in this case here, I feel like I can iterate more quickly because I can make these changes. They'll show up on the CI/CD. I can put them on Windows. I can test them on Linux. So the whole experience in modernizing for me has allowed me to have choice of where I host. It's given me incredible performance gains. The performance gains between .NET 2 and then 4 and now 8 and 9 is absolutely bananas. I want to show you a couple things before I let you go. First is we just had a gentleman on the podcast just this week. And Tomasz is the CEO of a .NET modernization company, and he just wrote a book. The book is called Modernizing .NET Web Applications. Modernizing .NET Web Applications. Again, we're going to hear in just a few moments in the next presentation a deep dive into how to modernize your .NET Web Applications. Here's a great book. I don't have any relationship with the company, but they did give us a coupon. So if you want 10% off, you can go and check that out at modernizationbook.com, and there's a 10% off coupon you can check out if you want. And that is one thing that I wanted you to know about, and then I wanted to remind you again about that upgrade assistant that is available up on the .NET website. Check that out. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. So I'm actually looking forward to hearing from our next presenter and the rest of the presenters throughout the day. I want to thank you for kind of letting me talk for a little while, letting me ramble on about the joy that I'm getting to experience in modernizing my .NET applications. And coming up in a moment here, we'll hear from Chandrakant and Chinmay talking about seamless migration and getting into a deep dive on migrating from .NET 4 to .NET Core. And then enjoy the rest of the day. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, of course, to Augustine and the folks there for organizing this event. We'll see you soon.